Tomáš Halík è uno dei più importanti teologi contemporanei, vincitore tra l'altro del premio Templeton, che è un po' il Nobel della teologia. Vita e Pensiero, la casa editrice dell'Università Cattolica, ha già pubblicato diversi suoi libri e in Italia per presentare, per parlare, per discutere di uno dei suoi libri più recenti che si intitola Pomeriggio del cristianesimo. Father Halík. What do we talk about when we talk about afternoon of Christianity, and why is it not bad news?
I was inspired by Carl Gustav Jung, the founder of analytical psychology. He used the metaphor of a day to describe the individual life. The morning is a use, it has the special task, and then the midday crisis, the midlife crisis comes, and after is the afternoon of life. It should be time of maturity, but that could be also a bad aging. And I applied this metaphor for the history of Christianity. So the pre-modern time is a morning time to build the institutional structures and the doctrinal structures of the church, and then came the midday crisis, so modernity, secularization, and so on. And now we stay on the very important point. Perhaps we can go through this new period, the afternoon of history of Christianity, as for time of maturity, going deeper. But there is also a danger that we will continue the business as usual, or we will return to the morning for the pre-modern time, or we will be rigid. So my book is an impulse for this new period of history of Christianity. I think the reform of Pope Francis, he calls for synodality, for the common way. And I try to give some ideas, some impulses for this reform of the church.
During pandemics, you wrote a very short essay about the seeing of empty churches. And now we find the same image, empty churches, in this book. Why is it so relevant, and what does it mean?
In our country, as in Italy, during a pandemic, the churches were closed, empty, and I see it could be a prophetical warning if the church will not go through reform. So the churches will be empty and closed. In some countries are many churches, monasteries, priest seminaries, half empty or empty. So it's a time for change. This time is a little bit similar like the time just before the Reformation, the 16th century. In that time, there were the scandals for selling the indulgences. And in our time, there were the scandals with the sexual abuse, psychological abuse, and so on. And at the beginning, in both cases, the people think it's just the case of individuals. But then also some reformators understood there is something wrong in the whole system of the church. And now the Pope Francis is also speaking, it was not just the case of individuals, there is something wrong in the whole system. And he speaks about the clericalism as the illness of the church. I also try to reflect some this crisis, something what should be changed.
One of the major issues in this book is spirituality. And you make a difference between believers and seekers. Who are seekers, and why they are so interesting for believers?
I think the main difference is not between believers and thinkers, but between the seekers and the dwellers. I like the sentence of the great Cardinal Martini. He said, I'm not afraid of the people they don't believe. I'm afraid of the people they don't think. And I think in both groups, among believers, there are some dwellers. They are 100% satisfied with the form of church, but the number of those people is diminishing. Among the atheists, non-believers, there are some militant, dogmatic atheists, but I think also the number of the dogmatic atheists is diminishing. But in both groups, there are also the seekers. Among the believers, there are some people, for them the faith is not just a treasure, but a way to the depth. And way of seeking God. It's on the beginning of the Regule of Saint Benedict, Son, come, I will learn you to seek God. And also among those, they say, we are not religious, but we are spiritual, we are also seekers. And I think those seekers are more interesting because the number of the seekers is greater and greater, and many of them are open-minded people, and we should to accompany those people, not just to convert them, to push them in the existing structure, the mental structure and institutional structures of the church. Now we should reopen these structures and to go with those seekers together in dialogue, in partnership. We can learn them something, we have something to offer, but also they can learn us anything. So we need the accompanying, this synodal way, the common way to go together.
We are talking about a lot about reform in the church, reform of the church. Ecclesia semper reformanda. The church is something alive, something on the move, is not taken for granted, never. And at the same way, faith is a style, is a way, is not simply a belief, the content of the belief. If this is true, and it is for sure, why some Christians, some Catholics too, are so scared about contemporary world?
I think it's a psychological and cultural problem for many people. The religion is mainly the expression of the identity. They need the identity. There is a crisis of family now, and if the family is not able to give the identity to the person, so the person is looking for some another identity, group identity, and they are looking for religion as a castle, or for some political extremism, for some fundamentalism, for some traditionalism, for nationalism, to get some firm identity. Sometimes there are people, they are full of anxiety, they need this firm identity. But thanks to God, there is also another form of religion and faith, very per depth.
The issue of identity brings us to ecumenism. Ecumenism in this afternoon of Christianity is not a choice, is not something we can do or not to do, but it is something we have to do, something necessary. Are we still in time?
So, we have a situation as we have, and we must do what we are able to do. So perhaps to start with the intra-Catholic ecumenism, so the dialogue between the very different groups of Catholics. This intra-Catholic ecumenism in the Church is sometimes more difficult than the dialogue between religions. and then is the dialogue among the Christian churches, of course, and with other religions, but also with those people. They say we are not religious, but we are still spiritual. We are still seekers. In our country, many people say, I don't believe in God, but I think something is above of us. I call this somethingness. I think this somethingness, something must be, is the most widespread religion in our country, perhaps not only in our country. So for the theologians, it is the challenge, the hermeneutics of this something, what it is. It is a mystery. And I think for religious people, it's very important to have the courage to enter the cloud of the mystery, to live with mystery, not to seek the simple answers to the difficult questions. We are not the owner of the truth. Jesus Christ is the truth. We are not Jesus Christ. We are followers of Christ. We are the people on the way. We are a community of pilgrims. We are not the perfect society. And so we should be humble, we should be open, and we should be on the way and on the common way. And if the synodality, the synodal reform, will transform the Church from some rigid institutions to the common way, to the network of people, and it will cultivate the communication with God, so renewing of theology and spirituality, the communication with other Christians, and the communication with other religions, and also with the people. They are not religious, but they are not the militant atheists. And I think it's our task for today and for tomorrow.
Thank you so much.